Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Ikigai with Jennifer Shinkai. Thank you very much for joining us today with my extra special guest, Violet Pacileo. Have I said your name right?
Yes, I think so.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I was always checking. I butchered someone's name in a meeting today. It was quite embarrassing. So glad to have overcome that first hurdle. So I have known Violet for quite a few years in her previous life. So we met at Mums in Business.
Oh, yeah,
that's run by Emily LaRue.
Yeah.
When you were high flying, super corporate, all in hedge fund, finance genius, amazingly bilingual, power suited it up the whole time. Quite intimidating, to be honest.
Because I think
but I also
you went
a massive fangirl on you as well.
Because I think you went to the same university as my boss at the time, David Chert.
I think we might have gone. No, we went to the same school.
That's it.
Yes,
that's
we
it.
both went to Berry Grammar School. He went to the boys, I went to the girls, obviously. Yes, so we had, I think I'd had some drinks with David at the time as well.
Right, I think it was one of the chamber events, and I remember the three of us having a conversation about your school. So
there you go. Yes, need to catch up with him as well.
Yeah.
But now you are, despite you're still a seasoned finance professional, but in 2019, you popped into my Ikigai, Discover Your Ikigai workshop, the Points of View version with your partner. And we were in Kinshio, and then delighted to see that you have made an absolute adjustment to the way you live your life. You have moved to Kochi. You are now about to open next year a CrossFit warehouse. Is that the word? Box?
CrossFit,
Retreat, yes, in Otoyo. And also working as a consultant for VP Advisors. And a TV star I was watching before today on NHK World. And I'll put the link in the show notes. It's a really beautiful video, and what a gorgeous place that you live in. So thank you very much, Violet, for joining today. It's all happened very quickly, and I really appreciate your flexibility on it.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Really, congratulations for you on integrating your Ikigai in such a brilliant way. And what I'd really like to get out of, this interview and conversation, interview sounds too much, doesn't it? Conversation, is to think about what that mindset shift was, all the different feelings and sensations you had at the different points when you were thinking, okay, I am this amazing woman, as Jennifer has described me. Yes, that I mean, this is all true. But you said to me, like, something's not quite right. So could you start there and tell us a little bit about sort of how that felt, what was going on for you?
So I changed jobs. I think when I first met you, I was working for an investment bank, and then I changed jobs in 2018. I guess that, it wasn't a cultural fit, and I wasn't sure if this was something I wanted to be doing in 10 years time. Was it time for me to move on? And I just couldn't make the decision, because you work so hard for your career. I was in finance for about, give or take, 15 years, and there's been struggles, and it's not easy, especially in Japan as a woman, to work in those types of industries. And then I was just getting to the point where my career was about to take off, hopefully. And I felt like if I'd step away now, I might be making a really bad decision. And at the same time, my husband was a stay-at-home dad. We have 3 kids, and I was the main earner. So I just felt like it would be really irresponsible for me to step back from it all and do something completely different, because it's a huge risk. So obviously that was getting me down. I was depressed. I was drinking a lot. I was making bad life choices, which I think a lot of people in that industry tend to do. I see a lot of that. I see my friends now, and they always look tired, and they've got bags under their eyes. And I think I was one of those people that was just living life because you feel like that is what you're meant to do. Because you're taught to believe that Wall Street is glamorous, and this finance industry and the stock market, and you're made to believe that is the glamorous life that you should try and aim for. So it was really hard for me to make the step and transition into something different, but I knew I wanted to. So, you know, I was curious with your Ikigai workshops you were doing, because, you know, I'm half Japanese. I know what Ikigai means. It's, everyone knows what it means in Japan, and it's something you should live your life for happiness, for something that you feel passionate about. And I know I wasn't living that life. So yeah, my husband, I didn't I was too scared to go by myself. I kind of convinced my husband to go with me, but he was in a different place in his life. He'd already lived his Ikigai, and he was already retired, and he was already kicking back and enjoying life, being a stay-at-home dad. So I don't think he needed to be at the workshop, and I don't think his life changed since. But for me, it was a big push that I needed.
Yeah, or maybe he was just living this like his different form of Ikigai, right? As a stay-home dad.
As a stay-at-home dad, yeah.
Yeah, living for happiness. I love how you describe that. So I want to come back to a couple of things that you've talked about. So one is you mentioned, right? So everyone in Japan knows what Ikigai is. So I would love to hear like how you have like learned what Ikigai is, or how you would phrase it.
Well, I think it's just basically ikiru imi, meaning of life. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, I mean, we're not taught that word, but it's just something that everyone knows. I don't know why everyone knows it, but it's just one of those words that everyone does. And
yeah. I was listening last week to an interview I did with Dr. Akihiro Hasegawa, who's a researcher here in Tokyo and does loads of really interesting work about Ikigai. And he's like, it's just like air. Ikigai is just like air. It's just there.
That's so interesting, because I was just talking to my husband, Carlo, about, you know, doing this podcast, and he explained what that is to him. And he said he explained it, and he said, you have to find something that gives you that feeling. It's exactly the same as eating, breathing, you know, things that you do every day. And I guess it's like air, it's just there. And you have to find that thing that you live for. Otherwise, there's no meaning to your life.
Love it. Goosebumps.
Really?
Goosebumps. Well done, Kelly. And I also wanted to, you know, just acknowledge what you said about a lot of those shoulds that you felt in the finance industry. Like I see that a lot. I felt like I experienced that myself when I did my career shift too. Like, you know, I should be in a corporate, I should be doing these things. I should be at this salary level, and I should be then, like, as you said, like moving into the next phase. So my next job is director. It's like, I don't really want that. It's not making me. And I think also what you mentioned about like the conflict of being, you know, the primary breadwinner, right, and how, can you tell me a little bit more about that sort of conflict between, you said like it was difficult to kind of walk away and give up because you'd been sort of so pulled towards it. How did that like manifest itself? How did it show up?
There's a lot of things. I mean, the stress level at work, and the stress was, in hindsight, probably a lot of it was caused because I wasn't in the right type of role or right type of industry, or I wasn't doing my Ikigai job. So that was probably adding to the stress as well. But seeing the stay-at-home dad having fun doing his hobbies, and me, you know, slaving away, getting stressed out, and just didn't make sense to me. I was getting jealous, so I'd be snapping and I'd be angry, and it wasn't his fault. It was me making the wrong life choices, and I was blaming it on him. So I think as a mother and as a wife, I needed to make a change to, you know, be a better person. I think when you're in a stressful role, or when you're in a life stage where if it's not the right fit for you,
Yeah.
for me anyway, it was causing a lot of stress, and it wasn't making me a nice person. It was making me into a horrible person. And, you know, I'm sure it would have led to a divorce if I'd stayed in Tokyo.
Right. Oh, thank you
Anyway,
for your
sorry, it's a bit
honesty.
deep.
No, thank you for your honesty and vulnerability, because I think a lot of people are like going through those things and those same feelings of like, this is not making, as you could describe this, and I'm not being my best self. I'm not being a nice person here. It's really affecting the relationships. And yet, to leave behind this income, to leave behind this glamour, to leave behind these like status, which is inherent in that world and in that type of role. And it's not just in finance, many other industries as well. And as you said, at this point where it's about to like go to the next level, I think it's incredibly brave, but also incredibly self-aware.
Yeah.
To be like, what's the balance that I want to have?
Yeah, it was difficult. I've had a very volatile upbringing, so maybe that could have, you know, been something that played a role in my decision making. You know, I grew up in Japan to a, I guess, middle class family. My dad paid for me to go to a £30,000 a year boarding school in England. But then my parents got divorced, and he stopped paying for me because his new wife didn't want to pay for the kids. So, you know, I ended up being financially, you know, not dependent to my parents from age 16 for A levels onwards. And that was really hard for me. And I ended up living in a council estate and, you know, not making great choices. And I probably wouldn't have gone to university. I did go to university, but I could have made really horrible choices and I could have ended up dead on the street. That's how bad it was. But then I turned that around and I became a really ambitious person from that. Through those experiences I had, I thought, okay, I need to find a job that pays a lot of money, so I'm never going to be in this situation again. And I remember flicking through, you know, those career books at university, and they have industry breakdowns on how much you earn. And I thought, I saw the finance section, I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, and you see lots of TV movies about how glamorous the stock market is. So I thought, this is what I need to do. So I, you know, fortunate to join Nomura when I came back to Japan after university. And then my career kind of started from there. But so I was definitely in the industry for the wrong reasons. You know, I thought it was glamorous. I just wanted to make money. You know, I wanted the status. And then once you start working in that industry, you get to meet lots of important people. You get to be invited to, you know, ambassadors parties or, you know, CEO. You get to meet lots of big company, big name CEOs. And it's really exciting. And I got sucked into that. I guess it's the false world of the way of living. But that's not you. That's the company. It's not me doing all those things. So it was really hard to step away from it. And also, you know, you're always trying to reach that salary level, like you were saying. You know, you want to be that director and you want to be, you know, the senior director, and then you want to be earning what the next person's earning, and you see the types of places they're living in and the cars they have, and I wanted all those things, but at the same time my personal life at home was crumbling. I was not a good person. I wasn't sleeping enough. I was gaining weight. I was drinking too much. You know, I was snapping at the kids. And one of the things my kids said to me when we moved here is, "Mum, you don't get as angry anymore." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I used to get so angry." And my son said, he said, "I miss being in Tokyo because I had more friends, but I like it here because you're not angry." So I must have been so horrible. But, you know, I think work stress, is it worth it? Is it worth making all that money? Because you don't need 10 pairs of $2,200 jeans. I can get by with 2 pairs of $20, you know, Uniqlo jeans. I don't need to have all those things. I don't need to send my kids to all sorts of expensive things that they can do after school. I mean, they're happy here running around in the mountains. So it was tough to make that transition, but now we've made it. I'm a lot happier.
That's amazing. Really, I love what your previous driver was, right? So you can almost say like that your Ikigai at some point was about like that search for status and financial freedom. Like, I want to live I want to live in a way so I don't have to experience that pain of not being financially independent. Like that drove you for a period of time. And then there was, like the into the lifestyle. But then you've mentioned many of the things which are going on. I love your story about your son.
He probably didn't like it though at the time.
But no, amazing. But and you're not the first person. Like last episode 7, I want to say, with Jess Garrity, she said that she's noticed physically since she started to do Kudo that her response to stress, she has 3 kids as well, her response to stress, and how she said, I can't remember the last time I raised my voice at them.
Wow.
Just a shift that's happened. Well, but this was not like who she was before, and she's found something that helps to regulate who she is and how she wants to live. This amazing transformation. Yeah. But so you came to my workshop and your life changed. I don't like to take all the credit, of course, but you sort of, so you came in wanting something, and then what happened, during the workshop, after the workshop, what was the story after that to making this brave step?
I think I have to just mention that I know Ikigai is not a personality test, but I've taken those, Myers-Briggs test twice for work, and I've taken another one while I was at the hedge fund. I can't remember. It's slightly different. So I've taken different courses over the years, enough to understand or to be self-aware of what my personality type and traits are. And so going into Ikigai, I already had that in my mind. So I kind of, doing the workshop just, what's the word? Not reinforced, but reminded me what type of person I was.
Yes.
And I just needed that push. I just needed that final push to take the leap and to be brave enough to do it. My husband's always said, because he's he used to be a firefighter, a medic, police officer, and then he joined Blackwater, which is a private security company, and all those things because he wanted to pursue his Ikigai. Because he says to me, when I met him, he was earning less than me, and I just couldn't understand why he would put his life in danger and earn less than I was when I was in an office. Like, it just made no sense to me. But he said he never does it for the money. He said he wouldn't do it for free, but he says as long as he can have enough food on the table and a roof over his head, he said he'll do it, if it makes him happy. And he said, you need to find something that makes you feel like that. He said, you need to find that spark that you wake up in the morning, and if you can't roll out of bed and get the day going, then there's something wrong. And I just couldn't get out of bed for a long time. I was so depressed that I wasn't happy in my life. So I think the Ikigai workshop, I wanted to do it because I knew I needed to change. I just couldn't be brave enough to make that first step. And the Ikigai helped me work through those conflicts I was having in my mind. And so October I took the workshop, and then I made the decision to move the family in January. So it was definitely the push I needed. The workshop, really helped me.
So just that act of acknowledging that things are not good, right, this is not how I want to live, and then finding some push, some external stimulus maybe to just give you, almost, it sounds like you just needed the permission slip,
maybe,
to say you can do it, because everything was already in you, the idea was already there. I think one nice thing about like going to a workshop is I actually think like hearing other people's dreams and like sharing that, and that's why I love doing that type of work, because you see how excited people get, and how excited someone else is about like what you share, and it just gives you this sense that, oh, maybe this is actually possible for me. It's amazing.
And it was nice to do it in a group setting, because when you're at home and you try and bounce ideas off someone you've been married to for over 10 years, it doesn't always work. So having an external, a third person give you advice, or if you can vocalize it with someone else, it definitely does help.
I think it's sometimes easier to do it with a third party because, you know, they don't have any skin in the game. You know, it's not like, oh, hang on, if she does this, I'm going to have to move from Tokyo to Kochi and my life's going to be turned upside down. I'm not sure I want to support this, right? So sometimes like having that ventilation of the idea with other people who are not going to have to live with any of the consequences of what you like, the outcome of this workshop. You know, it's very easy to like crush the idea as a family member or as a stakeholder in anything, right? So sometimes there's that benefit to like just, you know, even though I'll say they're raising it with friends, sometimes friends are like, oh, but I don't want Violet to leave Tokyo. No, are you sure? Seems a bit risky.
I did get a lot of, isn't that very risky? You know, there are other jobs, maybe instead of leaving the industry completely, why don't you look for a different job and change jobs instead of change career industries? Because I've gone from, you know, working in finance, investment banks and hedge funds to, you know, looking at the stock market, to now I don't look at the stock market at all.
So tell me more like what your daily life is like now.
So my mother's here. Otoyo is my mother's ancestral town, and judging from the names on the grave, I think we've been living here for over 400 years.
Oh wow!
And in this exact where this house is standing, so this house was rebuilt 50 years ago. It's still a wooden Japanese house, but the old house was here, and then previously to that, it's always been in this spot, which I think I really like about that. There's history to it, and you know, my mom owns, well, the family owns some land because we were farmers previously, 100 years ago, and so we still own some land, and I'm lucky that we can do what we want with it. There's about 100 or so yuzu trees. My granddad planted them a while back. He wasn't a farmer, but I guess it was just a hobby for him.
Right.
So now we have to manage it. Well, when I say we, I say my husband. Not much on the farm, but so my daily life would be take the kids to school, and then I'm working on my VP advisors. I guess trying to get things moving. I'm working with a web designer right now to create a VP advisors website. I am also working with the Japan Olympic Weightlifting Association to try and bring their training here. So we had them come and visit yesterday, and we went and visited 4 different facilities. They're all abandoned schools.
Oh my goodness.
So somebody from the prefecture came, someone from the town hall came, and the association came, and the board members from the association came, and we walked around and looked around. That was yesterday, that's Sunday. And then today, so the website I'm doing for BP Advisors, CrossFit is going to be built next year, but I'm applying for a grant. So it's 120 million yen investment in total, right. Trying to get half of that funded by the central government, and then I'll have to raise the rest. So I'm always meeting banks or the local chamber. I'm also working with the local Kochi University. They've heard what I'm trying to do here, trying to revitalize this region by opening a CrossFit. So Kochi Prefecture is going to use our facility as part of their sports tourism concept. And then Kochi University is going to work with us to bring in people from large listed Japanese corporates who may be based in Tokyo, Osaka. Bring about 10 of those people here from different companies, like, you know, and then we'll get together and try and come up with different ideas to revitalize this area.
Right.
Otoyo was the first town in Japan to be named Genkai Shuraku, which is a marginalized town. A
marginalized town?
Yeah. So
and what does that mean?
It means when more than 50% of the population is over 65, and there's been a certain percentage of population decline over the years. And I'm sure there's other meaning to it, but that's all I know. So this town has seen a huge loss of people. I remember coming to visit my grandparents when I was younger, and there was a Shortengai, you know, there were lots of people living here, about 20,000 people living here in the 70s. So now there's only 3,000 people, and of which 65% of them are over 70 or something like that. So there's not many people left. All the schools are closed down. So that's why there's a lot of abandoned schools. My kids have to get the bus for 20 minutes or 25 minutes to get to the only school, which only has like 10 kids in each year.
Wow.
So,
at home.
Yeah. You know, so when the population decreases, the young people and the talented people are migrating to cities. So we're losing a lot of talent. There's nobody running private businesses anymore. So the town is not bringing in enough income from tax revenue.
Right.
There's just not enough money going around, and I want to be able to change that. Like initially I thought last year, you know, maybe I could contact these large corporations because I've got their, you know, business cards, and then maybe try and get them to come and invest in this town. And I thought, hold on a minute, you know, how am I going to get paid through that? I'm just going to be volunteering, trying to pitch this town to. So I tried to pitch the idea to the town, but they weren't very you know, I don't think they wanted to work with me. So I decided to just do it myself. And if I can start off with building the CrossFit retreat, it's a small investment, but I'm hoping that will create a community here, and maybe it will bring more people here. The Japan Weightlifting Association said that, not the association itself, but the Kochi branch of the association said that, you know, once we open, they'd be happy to host some competitions here. And it doesn't even have to be with the association. We can have our own weightlifting competition here. So that'd be great if we can bring something. Yeah. You know, can I host Spartan races or any other races? Trail running, I've already contacted Emily, but I don't think we can. Our town is not going to be able to accommodate all the people that travels
with a lot of tents.
Yeah, with lots of tents, no hotels.
Doing a go-gi and sleep under the stars, but maybe not the weekend warriors like myself who demand a hot bath afterwards.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, do you go to do you attend the Spartan race?
I do. Yes, I got. I'm supposed. I am signed up for July. I'm not sure about it yet. I'm not sure I can run in July, but that's I'm not very Spartan. Like 1 year of lockdown has unspartaned me.
Well, now you can come and train at CrossFit Otoyo.
Yes.
Well, we're not called CrossFit Otoyo yet. Just want to make sure, you know, we're not affiliated yet.
Not affiliated yet. Watch this space.
Watch this space. We're still in the process of building the facility. There's nothing here yet.
But I love what you said, and also when we were speaking before we started to record, right? You know, you had all these ideas, and you know, I'm going to bring my consulting background and all of this, and you pitched it, and then it was like, like lead balloons. And then what I think is the resilience part, and what is so brilliant is I am just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And then through being this trailblazer and through having skin in the game as well, that gives more opportunities to other people to go, okay, it can be done. So it reduces the risks for others.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful, right? So once people start to see that, like, oh, there's, you know, this rafting company I saw in the NHK video, and the family that they came back, and no, they didn't come back, right? They just left Tokyo for Kochi, for the cafe.
Yeah.
Right? You know, these iterns, these people who are going from the city to the inaka, to the countryside. Once you start to see other people doing it and make it happen, then there is a chance to create a new community. And I'm sort of seeing a Shitamachi version where I live.
Yeah.
So I'm in Sumiraku in a place called Kyojima.
Yeah.
And, you know, one guy launched a share cafe.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first things. And now there's so many artisan cafes selling like 600 yen cafe lattes. I'm like, how much? But you know, to support their and then like there's just they're taking these old houses and they're redoing them, and now we have like a little wine shop. Apero. Do you remember Apero? Did you ever go to Apero in Minami Aoyama? Anyway, they just opened a wine shop. But like, why is there a wine shop in my downtown? Like nobody drinks wine, but it's just kind of becoming this new center. And I think that's sort of what you're trying to do in Otoyo. Otoyo, sorry, not Otoya.
Yes,
Totally different.
Hope I could. I might be over ambitious. The local town people are quite and maybe they've seen it before, so that when I tell them what I'm trying to do, it can be quite negative. So I try and remove myself from that negativity, but to keep myself positive. But I have to be ambitious. I think that's what David taught me. David Shirt taught me, my old boss. You know, you have to. Everything is about selling. You know, he was a great salesman, and I learned a lot from him. I'm now here. I'm selling. I'm trying to sell my ideas. I'm trying to sell myself. I'm not myself in that way, but you know, I'm trying to pitch the ideas that I have. And you know, that's the first thing I did when I moved here, and I was lucky enough to do the 1 week NHK episode, which gave me access to all sorts of different local people. So after the NHK program, I created a presentation to talk about what this town is going through, what you know, solutions that I came up with, and then what can we do, like just in Japanese. I made a presentation, and I started pitching it to everyone. I went to the local bank, and then when I pitched it to the local Kochi bank, they went and brought their board of director out for me. So the next week, the board of director came down to Otoyo, and I pitched it to him too. And then I pitched it to the local town office. And and then the word got around, and the Kochi prefecture heard that I was pitching, so they wanted to meet me. And nothing. It didn't lead to any money making, you know, great scheme, but it got me to network with lots of different people. And I wouldn't be where I am now, you know, 8 months down the line, if I hadn't done that. I got to meet loads of people, and all these people are now helping me, not financially, but in ways, you know, maybe they could give me advice, or they're trying to include me in their Kochi University project, or they'll say, oh, we know this other person that might be able to help you. So it's been a great eye-opening experience, because in Japan it's all about networking. And it's all about who you know. So you know.
And how did that NHK interview, NHK World 30-minute Violet show come about?
It was by chance. Somebody who I'd met, I wanted to use one of the local schools and turn it into a hotel and CrossFit retreat. That's what I wanted to do last year. And I thought, who's doing that in this area? So I looked around, and there was one lady who was renting a school, and she was turned it into a like a tatami room, not an upscale hotel, but it's like a minshuku.
Okay.
So I thought,
it's like a bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast. Well, they don't serve food. It's
okay. A bed. A hostel. A hostel.
Yes, hostel.
Is that what we call
Hostel's
it? Yes.
the right word. So I called her out the blue, and I'm like, hi, you don't know me, but is it okay if I come and look at your school? And she said yes. I went to meet her, and then 2 weeks later, she called me up, and she said, NHK is coming to this town, and they're looking for a bilingual person that can be a reporter, because of coronavirus, the reporter that they were going to use can't travel to Otoyo. And I was like, yeah, great, I'll do it. So that's how it came about.
Wonderful. So I feel like the first thing is that, okay, who's doing something similar?
Yeah.
This path has been traveled, so let's find that. Let's find the way to make this next step as easy as possible, right? Somebody's always done something similar. Maybe not exactly the same flavor, maybe not. So that's like a great tip. And then second is you don't know me, but I'm ringing you. And then she said yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people will be like, this person, I could ask for help, or I could ask for advice. But what if they say no? What if they like think I'm rude or too pushy? It's like, well, then no harm, no foul, right? Just ask. She said yes, because most people are amazing.
Most people like to give advice. If you go to them and say, I love what you're doing, they like praises.
Yes.
And they like to give advice.
Yes. So you know, like have that knowledge when you make the phone call or like send the LinkedIn request, that most people are going to be happy to talk about themselves. I mean, that's why I've got a podcast, right? Otherwise I wouldn't be able to. No, but I'd have no guest. It'd just be me. And that was the original problem with my book. It was just me going blah, 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 blah. Oh. And the agent said, great story. Got any other ways to live a life? Got any other examples? Bit of diversity? Yeah. So it's good to have like other examples, and that people want to share it. So I think, and then you said yes. You said yes. Like, do you have any presenting experience, Violet?
No,
Right?
ask me about the stock market, ask me about, Japanese companies, and uh, but no presenting experience
Yeah.
whatsoever. But NHK apparently likes it, and they have come up with, I don't know if they're going to make it into a series, but I'm doing a another Genkai Shuraku episode where we're going to go to I guess we're filming it next week, and I guess I'm not allowed to say where, but we're going to film it in a different location. I'm flying there in Japan, and we're going to do another episode based on Genkai Shuraku, marginal town, and what that town is doing to try and revitalize the region. Apparently it's worked, and I'm going in there, coming from Otoyo, and I have to go in there and try and learn and see if I can take anything back to the town. I think that's the theme of the episode.
The people of Otoyo better watch out when you come back with all these ideas. This ambitious.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I told the town I'm doing it, and I told the prefecture I'm doing it, and I said, "Would you like me to write a report about it?" And they said no. So I'm going to do it anyway.
You're going to do it anyway.
Want to pay me. They just don't want to pay me, so I'll just do it anyway and give it.
Right. Well, that's a different thing. I think there's there's just so many opportunities for like revitalization in Japan right now.
Yes.
It takes people though like yourself to just go, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try, because Tokyo will stay there.
Yeah.
Tokyo's always there. You can come back anytime you like.
I think what I've found out, like, through the last 8 months living here, is because of the talented people moving away, the people that are left here tend to be okay, this is sounding very rude, but they, for example, the town office.
Holders of tradition?
Holders of tradition, perhaps, junior high school might be the last school they attended. Not much travel experience, haven't gone overseas. So they don't have the same, like an international view that a person that is living in Tokyo might have. So those experiences and backgrounds are so useful when you come here. And anybody living in the city with that international background, or even if you don't have an international background, if you work for a large company, for example, those experiences of how a big company is run will do really well over here, because nobody's ever worked for a big company. Right. They don't even know what diversity means. They don't know what unconscious bias is. They don't think that there's a gender equality issue, even though there is. I'm hosting a circuit training class for over 70s ladies at the chamber, Otoyo Chamber. Otoyo Chamber is, interestingly, the only chamber, according to Otoyo, the only chamber in Japan that has a woman as a chair. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, Otoyo.
If you count the international,
But so a local chamber of commerce.
Yes, I think that's what they mean. And so I just spoke to her, and she said she'd be, happy to do the class, and she'll come and she'll invite some people. But I said, okay, look, what time should we do it? Because these are all business owners. These are all CEO female business owners that are part of the Chamber Women's Network. So I said, what time should we do it? Should we do it at 6 o'clock so everybody's finished work? She said, oh, no, women are not meant to be outside of the house at that time of the day. And I said, okay, 4. She goes, well, we have to prepare dinner, so we're not going to be able to. I was like, okay, 11. She's like, well, we have to make lunch for our husbands, so women can't be out of the house during those times. I'm just like, wow. Yeah.
Feels like so did you come to a time when women are allowed to be out of the house?
Weekends, well, weekdays at 2, or weekends early on.
Right.
So it doesn't interfere with their lunch schedule.
Lunch plans. Goodness. Like you can imagine that, it's hard. Like people are time poor if they're running their business and those things, but that reason behind it's kind of.
So they're running their women-led business, and they're managing the household. It's women. These are types of issues women faced in UK, US over 100 years ago, I think, or maybe not that long ago. But here it's still prevalent. you still see it. And when I try and talk to them about gender equality, we just don't, we're not on the same level. I don't think they understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Well, when the women are not allowed, not supposed to be, and it's not supposed to be out of the house because of these things, you know.
Yeah, but also they're all over 70, so you know,
right.
women
so
in that era.
Yeah.
It's
but,
so unfortunate.
You know, I mean, this is, if that's the prevailing mindset, you can almost see why maybe more switched on younger people who have more access to different things because of media and social media have gone, I'm not going to stay here. I don't want that life for myself either. So I'll go and live in we'll go and live in a tiny house in the city because I'm allowed to be out of it at different times.
That makes sense. That's probably one of the reasons why young people do, especially women, move out, if that's the expectation that the older ladies are having of them.
Right. Yeah. It's not such an attractive thing. But you know, you've come in as a fully formed human with all your experiences, and you're able to say, well, that's not going to work for me. Like, that's, please, you know, you do you, and I'm going to do me, and I'm going to open my CrossFit gym and have this retreat, and going to do these things that make me happy, right? So I can get out of bed, and I'm not going to lose sleep over whether you're making your husband's bento or not, his lunchbox for him. So Violet, if you had like a piece of advice for someone who is especially in that period where you were, like around the time that you came to the workshop, what would you say to them?
Definitely take the Ikigai workshop, because
thanks, nice plug.
It did make a big difference for me, but it did help that I had that Myers-Briggs or whatever personality test, you know, that I did before, because I was self-aware of what my personality traits were before I came in. I think that helped me take the workshop. It's difficult to make a big change in your life, but it doesn't have to be such a drastic change like me. Even small changes, like changing jobs, or even, you know, waking up an hour earlier or sleeping more could be a change. That might help, because you know, you can manage stress levels in different ways.
Yes, right. It doesn't have to be a massive move to the countryside. It can just be, you know, buying some nice flowers and putting them on your desk. Because mine today, they're bringing
investing in yourself,
bringing me a lot of joy, and supporting a small business as well with these. So makes me happy. But I also love what you say about like developing that self-awareness. So, you know, you were fortunate through your professional development in your previous companies that they'd invested in these kinds of Myers-Briggs or other different types of personality tests, but there's so many of those available online. You know, if you're feeling that like something's not right, like learn who you are. Right, have a bit of a navel gaze and like enjoy it, and what makes me tick, and what makes me excited, and any work that you can do around discovery. Work makes it sound hard. Just enjoy it. Be curious about yourself. And
definitely. And it's a little bit fitness related too, because that's where I'm trying to go with this business. You know, something that Carlo and I think about on how we're going to promote this business to a bunch of people that have never exercised before, and it's kind of like Ikigai too, your health and well-being, not just the mental state, stress levels, but also making sure you're living a healthy life is really important to have an active, long life. You know, you see lots of people, whether it's caused by stress or drinking too much or smoking or not sleeping enough or overeating, or, you know, all sorts of different reasons, that you see more people having issues with their bodies, but it's all something that you can change. It's all based on the choices you make. So Ikigai is part of that. I think making sure you're kind to yourself and investing in yourself, because nobody else is going to do that for you. Your husband's not going to, your spouse isn't going to do it, your mother's not going to, your father's not going to, your kids aren't going to do it for you. You have to do it. And for me, it was just realizing that I have to take control of my own life, because otherwise I would have, I probably would have had a heart attack so early on. So finding Ikigai, I think, directly relates to making good decisions and looking after your health and mental health and your physical health.
Wonderful. I love that. And if you want to live a long and healthy life, then weight training is very important, especially for women, right? For osteoporosis. So get yourself down to Otoyo strength.
Yes. Otoyo strength.
Coming soon.
Coming 2022. Soon to 2022.
So keep in touch with us and let us know when it opens. And we're really happy to share all your links and maybe come to Kochi. And very excited to see the next iteration of your Ikigai. And watch out for your next NHK World video as well.
Yeah, coming out in July.
Yes, I shall be keeping my eyes peeled on the NHK World website. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Violet. It was an absolute pleasure. I hope that the banging around in the background, someone is obviously integrating their Ikigai by building a new house next to me. So it's always fun in the Shitamachi this time of year. So thank you for your patience. And I really wish you the best of luck. And I hope everyone has been amazingly inspired by Violet's story as well. So all her links, you can follow the progress of the Kochi Otoyo Strength CrossFit excitement and be ready for when it opens. And also, I'm sure she'll be very happy to hear any questions around that as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.